So this movie brings back nostalgia for you because you actually saw it when it came out.
In theaters.
Yeah.
I remember being younger than I would have been, given that this came out in 2006, which means that I would have been a senior in high school. I remember being younger, but whatever.
Now, you were talking about how you wanted to watch this movie to see if you were imagining parts of it or misremembering parts of it, kind of like the Mandela effect, which you talk about all the time on our podcast.
Yeah, because that was like one of the first things we brought up on the podcast, but yeah.
From the Manchurian Candidate, the first ever podcast episode going all the way back.
Yeah, so don't listen to that. We say sometimes we want to listen to an episode, don't do that. That was... It
was our first ever.
We didn't know what we were doing. We still don't. But,
we know
still, better now.
We're still winging it.
Yeah.
Just so crazy and wild and just haphazard.
Oh yeah, wild and free. Anyway, what was your point?
Well, you said that this movie was in 3D.
I said that I remembered it in 3D, but I wasn't sure because I had done research and could not find that it was in 3D.
And it's not in 3D.
No, but tell me that opening scene doesn't lend itself perfectly to 3D.
It does. The opening scene where you're in the video game and they're doing the sweeping camera views and all of that in that, what I'm sure at the time was state-of-the-art CGI. I'm sure at the time that was the best that they could do.
I've seen worse anyway. It's not that bad, and it does very much establish you're in a video game.
Well, yeah, it does make it very clear that it's not reality, where these days it's getting harder and harder to tell.
Yes.
So
anyway, yes, this movie is something that I wanted to do because it was something that has kind of stuck with me for some strange reason for all these years, and you hadn't seen it.
Right.
So before we get into it, I would like to ask, do you have any horror movies from when you were a teenager or whatever that stick with you for reasons unbeknownst to you?
I mean, not off the top of my head. I'd have to think about it for a bit.
I'm just curious, like, if you're just going to come out with, like, Friday the 13th or something, or if there's going to be, like, some weird off-kilter, like, movie like I have that just kind of, like, okay, like, I mean,
it's a comedy horror movie, but Ernest Does Halloween.
I don't know if that counts.
I don't think that counts. I just remember that terrifying scene where the little girl's in the bed and then she hears the troll under the bed and looks underneath and there's nothing there. She turns back around and it's there with her.
I mean, okay, you guys let us know. Does that count and does that need to be a future episode? Because, I mean,
there has to be other actual horror movies that are from my childhood. I'm
there have to
on
be.
The spot.
But anyway, okay, so... Anyways.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Shay, and this is Cinematically Correct. And this week's movie was Stay Alive. It was my choice.
Yep.
And, yeah, so, I mean, do you want to give them a taste of it, or should we do the beer first?
We have to do the beer. So, this week I chose The Baroness.
Which, for those of you who haven't seen this movie, won't make a lot of sense, but once you've heard the podcast, you'll understand that it's literally perfect.
Yep. That's a Brew Saison. And I'm very sure that I'm going to like this. That was a good one.
That was really satisfying.
Oh, yeah, that's really nice.
Can I see the photo on the front?
She even looks kind of creepy.
Yeah, and she almost looks video game-esque.
Yeah.
So, I give you 10 points for the can. What do you give the beer?
I will give it 4.25.
Okay, out of 5. Whew.
Out of 5.
I was in my head doing out of 10 because I said 10 points, and I'm like, whoa, that's disastrous.
It's also Four Phantoms Brewing Company.
So, I mean, like, all signs point to perfection.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Okay, so do you want to give a brief synopsis?
Brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis.
It is basically The Ring with video games, not a movie. So it's these college teenager / working young people that are video gamers find this video game, Stay Alive, and if you die in the game, you die in real life.
Yeah.
And it's them trying to not die for the whole movie.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's about as succinct as I can make it.
Yeah. So, for the cast, I mean, a lot of the cast is basically what you think of when you think of the 90s, really.
Right.
I mean,
2000s. This is 2006.
But they're 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's fine. The first person, though, he looked familiar to me, but I don't actually know who he is. So the main character is played by John Foster, and his name in the game, or in the movie, is Hutch. It says he was in Terminator 3, The Informers, The Door in the Floor, Salisbury Poisonings, Like Father, Poor Boy, nothing.
I mean, I've seen Terminator, but I think he was a minor part in that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so nothing really strikes me as anything I've seen. But he looked familiar. I'm sure I've seen him in something.
So, interesting fact that I read on the IMDb. His brother, Ben Foster, gave him the part because he felt he would be better for this role.
Oh, what a good brother.
Yeah, and Ben Foster is much more well-known. So he was the guy with the wings from X-Men.
Okay.
He's been in a bunch of other movies.
I'm sure if I looked him up, I would know who he was.
You would. He's more identifiable than his brother.
Okay.
And
his
brother did him a solid and gave him this part.
Well, I mean, he did really well, so I don't have any complaints about him. He's basically a young professional who is a gamer, and he starts losing basically every single person in his life. And he also had already lost his entire family, so basically, like, he just has nothing to lose apparently anymore. So might as well play a video game and basically kill yourself. So Samara Armstrong plays a really annoying girl with a camera. Is really the best I can think of.
Yeah. I don't know if I recognize her from anything.
I don't either. She was in the OC. I did not watch that back in the day. It was not one of my things.
Oh, I totally did. It was just my show.
She was in Just My Luck with Lindsay Lohan. Again, not something I saw. Code Black, NCIS. But that's probably like, she was probably like
one episode.
Yeah, so nothing I've seen.
Dead Body on the Table #4.
Yeah. She plays literally an annoying girl with a camera. Like, I don't have much to say about her. She was just...
Like, she just kind of inserted herself into an existing friend group.
I don't even know why she was at the funeral. I really... Like, do you hire a photographer?
No, I don't want to remember. Like, it's not something that you... Oh, remember that time we put Grandpa on the ground? No.
Like, she said she was friends with, like, someone that died... But the funeral couldn't have been for all three at once. I mean, I guess I don't know if joint funerals exist.
It was the original 3 people in the house that died.
But do we have joint funerals now?
I mean, they probably did because they were all friends and they...
Is that how that works? Don't families usually, like, separate the funerals?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, darling. That's one of many...
No one came up to her. Like, so the younger sister of the Loomis, I think the character's name was, who died in the beginning... The younger sister came up to Hutch and, like, said, he wanted you to have the games, whatever. But no one came up to her. So then I started wondering, like, is this girl a ghost? Is this girl, like, some creepy person? Like, what's going on? Because you're just at a funeral. You're taking photos. You spoke to no one. You didn't go up to the casket. Apparently, I have to believe there's a joint funeral. I have questions, okay?
Let it go. It's not that deep of a movie.
I'm just saying. Okay, next person is Frankie Muniz. Plays Swank. I don't know what else to say that other than he's Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle. So. Well,
yeah, like that's what everyone knows him from.
And you probably also know him from the fact that he's got memory loss from racing.
Yeah.
So, but I actually liked his character in this movie.
I mean, it was not unlikable. It's kind of like the really super nerdy know-it-all geek.
But also adorable.
Right.
Just kind of like, you're just kind of like, he needs to live. Like, we need him.
Spoilers, no.
Spoilers, yes. What are you talking about?
Oh, yes, he does. Oh, he dies off screen, which never really means he dies.
So, real spoiler.
Yeah,
okay, cool. Jimmy Simpson plays Phineas. I don't know who he is, but he looked so familiar.
I mean, the most recent thing that I've seen him in is Westworld.
Okay.
He's been in a couple other things.
I see Twilight Zone, which is something I've actually wanted to see. Westworld, Perpetual Grace. Psych. This Is Us. Yeah. Okay, I've seen This Is Us, so maybe I'd seen him in that. Newsroom. But
yeah, he's been in a few things.
None of which I have seen, but I'm sure I've seen him in something. I would just have to do more extensive research. But we'll talk about this later, but his character is severely diminished in the version of the film we saw.
Also, he sucks.
He sucks. He sucks as a person.
He sucks as a person. In the version that we got, he was worse in the deleted scenes.
Yeah. Some of the lines are great, though. I mean, horrible, but great.
Yes. All right, next.
Okay, so some of the other people we don't need to talk about. I mean, I obviously need to bring up Viola Ventigma, or however you say his last name. I will never know how to say it because I do not speak whatever language that is. However, he is Jess from Gilmore Girls. He's one of my references, and he dies like within the first few minutes, but I love him more than anything, so we're not going to not talk about him. So literally his character is to die. Like there is nothing else. Like he's playing the game and he dies. Like, and he passes on the game to the next people. That's it. That's him.
Yep.
So
yeah, he's dead. He's dead in the first 4 minutes.
Yeah. And then my next reference is Sofia Bush, because she is in One Tree Hill with Chad Michael Murray, who plays Tristan in Gilmore Girls. You're welcome for a 2 for today. It was given to me. It was handed to me. She's also my crush from 2006. I thought she was the most beautiful girl that ever existed. I mean, I still don't know if anybody rivals her, honestly, but...
So she's actually my Lord of the Rings reference, because she was in The Hitcher with Sean Bean, who is in Lord of the Rings.
So she's also multi-talented. I see how it is. See, she's wonderful.
Oh, no, The Hitcher was not a particularly good movie.
And we could pretend like it was.
No. No, we can't.
That's why they talked about her line before she died.
The go...
Yeah, I didn't know why that was relevant. I'm like, okay, so it's like the same line as another movie. It's not that unique.
A movie that she was in, that somebody else used that same line.
I didn't know that. Anyway, she plays a goth girl.
October, stupid name.
Yeah, that is very interested in like emo folklore type stuff, and is the one who knows everything about the Baroness, which is the villain of this movie.
Yes.
So, I mean, I like her character. I mean, she's nothing like crazy or anything, but like I enjoy that type of character. So,
yeah, I mean, the only other person I can think to mention is Wendell Pierce.
Okay.
He's the police officer. He's the only thing I ever have seen him in really was The Wire, where he plays a police officer.
Wow, something so out of the realm for him.
Such range there. I'm sure he's in other things, and he's fine, but that's the only other person that I recognize, really.
Yeah, I also am now realizing we have a very large echo, so I'm sorry right now about that, but I think it's because our door is open.
Well, also our dog is wearing a giant sound cone.
Oh, is that what it is?
Probably.
Okay, so yes, she did just have surgery, and she cannot be away from us right now, so sorry about that. But I am realizing as I'm talking.
A little bit, but moving on.
So, anyway. Okay, so there is other people in this movie that you guys probably have seen if you're our age or older. But
damn, Adam Goldberg. I almost forgot.
That was why I said that, but...
Adam Goldberg was in our second podcast movie.
Which was?
Saving Private Ryan.
I don't remember the order of movies we did.
I just know the first 2.
Oh, okay.
So where are we going from here?
Okay, so first and foremost, I picked this movie because it was something that I remember from my childhood, but it's also, to me, a unique concept of a movie. So it's a video game movie. So it's a movie where if you die in the game, you die in real life. Yeah?
Yes.
Can you think of, don't say, like, yes, there are other video game movies, like, for example, I think Silent Hill?
Silent Hill, Resident Evil...
Right, but are there other games or other movies like this where it's not based directly on a video game, but it's more the concept of playing a video game and then some horror ensues?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, there's Grandma's Boy, but that's a comedy.
I love that movie. I love that movie.
It's about an undescribed generic video game, so it's not a specific actual...
Car. Yeah. We will do that movie at some point because you don't like it, and it's literally up your alley far more than it's up mine.
It's not.
Yet
it's
I
really
know
not.
all of the lines, so who knows what that is. Anyway, so my point is that I feel that we say a lot, movies that need to be redone, not because they were good, but because they missed the mark. So I guess to start, my question to you would be, if they did remake it today, 1, who would you like to see in the main roles, and 2, what type of like video game would you like it to be? Would you like it to be the same thing, like the same concept, or do you think there are other video games now that it would make more sense to do?
I mean, I don't know. I would like it to be redone because it's not a good movie.
But it's a good concept, yeah?
It is a good concept. It's one of those great idea, terrible execution.
But for some solidly good reasons. So let's give it the benefit of the doubt.
But I think they could, first off, they would very much need to pick a a more believable backstory, because a quick Google will tell you that all of their fictional villain-esque stuff was garbage.
See, now I'm interested to go back and forth with you a little bit. Now, I know that you did a lot of the backstory for your History Minute, so we'll get to that. But I do think that there might be some holes that you may not have realized were actually covered in the full version of this movie. So I'd be interested to actually kind of go through with you the things that you think didn't make sense or were missing or whatever, and see if we can sort that out a little bit. But anyway.
I mean, I think if they had a more believable backdrop to the video game, update it with better CGI for the video game.
And they need to do it in 3D or VR at this point.
I mean, it's something better than what they had currently in 2006 or whatever it was. I also didn't think the cast had very much chemistry, honestly. Like, they just... It's almost like they took all of the stars that were a draw in their own right from the 2000s and threw them all together.
Well, they also didn't give them any kind of cohesive story. Yeah. Like, you don't even really know why they're friends. Like, there's no, like, this one's my girlfriend, and this one's, like, my best buddy, and this one's whatever. Like, you don't have any of that. It's just kind of like, yeah, there are these dudes that I, like, know. Sofia Bush and her brother. So, were they dating? Weren't they dating? I don't know. Is the brother his friend, or is it just her brother? Like, there's no...
Well, like, in Cabin in the Woods, which is another group of kids that go off into the woods and are murdered, that we've done for the podcast, that they at least had backstory there. There's at least it was, this is my friend from college, that's my boyfriend, that's his friend, that's the stoner that we somehow hang out with.
Right. They literally brought together a bunch of singular people.
Right.
Outside the movie and inside the movie, and they just said, go in a room and there you go. And,
you're friends now. Have fun.
Yeah.
And you're just expected to buy that they're all friends.
Yeah, it felt weird. I mean, they could have even, if they didn't want the people to know each other. I don't know. Well, I mean, it was so popular in 2006. I used to do it back then. They could have done online video gaming. You know, when you, like, went online and you were part of a clan and you were, like, like, they could have done something like that where it would make more sense if they were individuals.
It was so kind of jarring to see, well, that's Frankie Muniz, and that's Sofia Bush. Like, there's just...
Right, you have your own backstory for them, and if you don't fill anything in for me, I'm filling it in on my own.
That's Malcolm in the Middle.
Right.
And it's already, the movie is like, you're Malcolm. I don't even know what your name is, but you're Malcolm.
Right.
And it just kind of falls apart a little bit there.
Yeah. Okay, well, so do you have anybody you would like to see in a video game movie like that?
I mean...
The first person that comes to mind for me is Daryl from Walking Dead, Norman Reedus, because he does play a character in a video game, and, like, they use his likeness for it. I don't remember the name of the video game, but I'm sure you guys can Google it.
It's Earth Stranding.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yes, I know.
I think I actually sent it to you when I saw it, because I was like,
I very much want to play it, but I don't have a PlayStation 4.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so...
And Stork has already told you to buy one, so...
Oh, but isn't PlayStation 5 coming out now? I just saw it on Twitter, so...
I mean, PlayStation 4 will be cheaper.
Anyway, so he's the first person that came to mind for me. And also he's beautiful.
Chris Pratt.
I mean,
just because he's got the affable, good humor.
Chris Pratt. I'll watch anything he's
like. He's got that little bit of funniness that you kind of need for this kind of movie, because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, and Milo could be a bigger part. First of all, he's more well-known now, probably, than he was then. And he's a really good actor. And cute, like, all of the things you need, and they really offed him in, like, 10 minutes. Like, I feel like they could move him into, like, the lead role, or in one of the supporting characters in the group role, but, like, someone who's in it more, you know what I mean? Or, like, Frankie Muniz's character, he could be that.
Well, just other people that would have a better chemistry.
Yeah. We'd
have to build it around one or two well-known actors, and then not have well-known actors. I like to have a little bit of a compilation.
Yeah. No, I agree, but, like, they have to mesh.
It's a medley.
To know why they like each other. Like, I need to know. Don't tell me it's this person's brother. I want to know, like, why are you connected? Yeah. Please and thank you. As you can tell, I need story. Okay, I need.
Yes.
Okay, so when you were watching this movie, you told me that it reminded you of The Ring.
It very much did remind me of The Ring for a few main things.
Okay.
The first being that it is... Well, it's television or video versus video game.
Okay, so it's like something on the TV.
Right, it's something on the TV that kills you. Both horror movies, obviously.
Wow, really great connection there.
Both female villains, which is not very common, actually.
Is that true?
Well, I mean, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Jason.
Well, I mean, as we've learned from Criminal Minds, the typical serial killer is a single white male.
Well,
so
that's what I'm saying. But it's refreshing to have a powerful villain that's a woman.
It's refreshing to have a murderer that is a woman.
Well, it breaks the staleness of having some random guy go crazy and chop people with an axe.
See, I mean, I'm all for diversity, but I don't know that I need the diversity of villains. But I'm down for it because this was interesting to me, and it's based off of a myth that actually exists, or whatever.
To use Disney references, Ursula and Maleficent. Yeah. Because this is a Disney movie.
Yes, and we'll get into that. But yes, it is a Disney movie, and we understand how crazy that sounds. But anyway.
They're both PG-13. I mean, I think The Ring was much better done for a PG-13 movie.
What's funny is I remember not liking The Ring back then, but I don't honestly remember much about it.
So I think we are coming at this from opposite sides, because you saw this movie when you were younger and it has nostalgia. I saw The Ring when I was younger and it has nostalgia. I still remember pranking my best friend, watching this movie in a basement, and calling his cell phone.
When
the video was over, I called his phone, and everyone in the basement freaked out.
See, I watched The Ring right before I think it was my sister and I went to a haunted, farm thing. Whatever. I think it was, called Haunted Hill or whatever. It was in Cumberland, which is not far from us. Anyway, I went, and they had, a house where it was all the Ring ladies, and it was right before the clown house. So I was not in a good mood, was not feeling it, and then I had to be carried out of the clown house because, I'm terrified of clowns. Hardcore. So I was I think I put negative connotation on that movie because of that moment of just all these ladies are swarming me, and all I can think about is I want to leave before the clowns see me.
Well, that was similar to my dad tells the story about how he watched The Birds growing up when he was a little kid, and as he left, he had to walk home, and there was nothing but birds on the walk home, and he just looking over his shoulder going, I'm about to die, I'm about to die, I'm about to die.
Yeah. So, okay. Anyway, any other reason why it reminds you of The Ring?
Those are the main ones. I mean,
that's a movie we haven't covered. So, maybe it's something that we revisit at some point.
I do own it, so.
Yeah, well, we should get through that stack of movies that you own.
It's a large.
Not as large as our list, I bet.
No, it's not that large. Nothing's that large.
Yeah. Okay, so we keep saying over and over this is a video game movie. So, one thing I love about movies that are, kind of for a certain subset of people is that they generally do a lot of references to that people they're marketing towards. And this movie did that. So, even though we say that it missed the mark on some things, it did have quite a few references for gamers.
It certainly did. The horror genre, the most well-known are Silent Hill, Resident Evil, etc. So it had that feel to it.
For sure.
The annoying camera girl.
Yeah, she was really annoying.
Pulled from Fatal Frame. So that's a video game reference for you.
I don't know what Fatal Frame is, but okay, yeah. Believe you.
The house or the plantation was pulled directly from the House of the Dead, which is the Sega shooter game.
Okay.
Where you shoot all the zombies.
I think I've actually seen that one, yeah.
I think it's the one in the arcades, if I'm not mistaken. The big consoles, you got the fake plastic gun and you shoot all of the zombies and monsters.
Yeah, they show that in every movie.
Yeah. The mirror is pulled directly from a game titled simply D. Just D. The capital letter D.
Okay, okay.
And in the deleted scenes, there's actually the Konami code or the Konami command where you put it in and it
when he's talking about making the zombies naked?
Yeah, when he makes zombies naked in the deleted scenes, which you don't really need. You could have figured out something else to use the command for or the code, but...
But what was the code for? Konami, what does that mean?
Well, it's the game publisher, Konami.
Oh, okay.
So it was from their game originally. I don't remember exactly which one.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's, to my knowledge, most of them.
Okay. So, to kind of get into... a lot of people say that this movie is bad. If you look up Rotten Tomatoes, you're going to see horrible, horrible reviews. It's just... Yeah, it's atrocious. So, as we said before, it's a Disney movie. So, this is Disney's only horror film. Slasher flick. Whatever.
Sure.
Now, this does not include things that were under their dimensions pictures before, and also things that they've inherited from other things when they bought it out. It does not include that. This is Disney's only horror film that happened under Disney, basically.
Okay.
So it happened, I believe, under their Hollywood Pictures logo, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Thank you for the validation. But anyway, so there was a lot that kind of didn't go right because Disney kind of micromanaged. Disney wanted a PG-13 film where the writers wanted a rated R film, and because of that, 2 characters, a subplot were removed, and it totaled 15 minutes total runtime that was removed.
Yes, and there were a lot of scenes that would have made this a more violent movie, not necessarily a better movie, but there's a lot of blood off of Sofia Bush when she gets her throat slit upside down. Mm-hmm. The face ripping apart the thing on the detective.
Yeah, they don't even show his death.
No, they show the car in the parking lot, but
right.
There's a scene where the whole car is full of exploding bloodhead.
Right. And the reason that the effects weren't shown for that kind of thing was that Disney would not fund them to finish out those special effects because they felt like it wouldn't make the cut anyways because they wanted a PG-13 movie, so they didn't fund it.
Well, there's also a little bit more swearing.
A little bit more colorful jokes, too.
Yeah. One thing that did make way more sense at the end of the movie is when the blonde photo annoying girl is hanging upside down and she's about to die like Sofia Bush did. Elizabeth Bathory's monster ghost thing is naked because she's about to prepare a bath.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Because that's what she was known for?
Yeah, she bathed in virgin's blood because she didn't like getting old.
Well, stop stealing my history minute.
It's not really a history minute. That's part of the movie.
But, so that scene made way more sense because she's literally has her hanging over a vat. The whole exposition about going to the game developer's house and talking to the game developer, talking to this random extra woman.
She's not a random extra woman. She's the author.
She's the author of the book on Elizabeth Bathory. Mm-hmm. So it provided a lot more context to what was going on rather than it's a video game that kills you because reasons.
Right. And I mean, there was one part, too, that was a little bit confusing when watching it that made more sense was why or how did the video game coding happen? And Sofia Bush's character insinuates in the cut that we saw that Elizabeth Bathory somehow coded the game to let her, be...
Yeah, someone from hundreds of years ago before computers figured out how to code, made a game, and released it to kill people.
Yeah, which made no sense. But obviously, it was from the developers, and it was a whole different thing. But they explained all of it in the regular cut of the movie. But because so much was cut out, it felt like things were pieced together, and it didn't really make a lot of sense.
It just didn't flow. It didn't have any kind of. It was very sparse, and just it kept going from thing to thing. It found it kind of like a jump cut. Just over and over. It's like, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing... And it felt rushed.
Yeah. Now, I am actually interested at some point in my life to go back and see the director's cut. I've seen some of the scenes now, and I've read what happens and all of that. But I would be interested to see it because I'm curious if I would find that more enjoyable. Not that I didn't like this movie. Just more that there were parts where I was just kind of like, what? What are you talking about? I don't get it.
Yeah.
So, anyway. That's, I mean,
there were things that they made the final cut of this movie that made no sense and are just awful for the sake of being awful.
Okay, like?
Like the having sex with a pig mask on. No. What?
Did you see, there was a horror movie where I don't even know if it's just the beginning, but the movie is the killer is outside the house. There's a bunch of people inside. They're rich people. And he's got a boar's mask on, the whole time. Is it the strangers?
They wear animal masks.
No, it's not multiple people. It's one person.
Oh.
It was relatively recent. I'll have to go and look it up later on. But that's the first thing that came to my mind was oh my god, the boar's mask.
No.
I wish I tried to look up an explanation as to why they had that. That is not a turn on.
It made no advancement of the plot. It didn't make you like that person or feel bad that they were murdered. I'm kind of good. The creepy pervert is dead.
Yeah, I don't really understand what the purpose of that is. So if anybody knows what the purpose of having a beginning scene with somebody having sex with his girlfriend with a pig mask on is, please let me know, because I don't understand.
No.
Yeah.
And that's more offensive than half of the violence in this movie, honestly. To me, like, that's just way more distasteful.
There are some remarks that have been removed, and rightfully so.
But swearing is different than...
No, I'm talking about when they're talking about the lady parts and things like that, where I'm like, okay, like if it's a Disney movie, I can see why they don't want you talking about that.
But give me more swearing and a little bit more violence and keep it PG-13 than have that stupid scene in it. Like, come on.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it needed to be there at all.
No.
But, so a big part of this movie is playing the video game. So what you learn is that the people start playing this game and they realize that if they die in the game, they die in real life. And so the first death after the opening scene where you see the 3 people die, the first death you see of this group is the guy's boss, I believe. And he dies, I think, getting cut, and he gets like stabbed in the throat, and he then is found stabbed in the throat at his office.
With giant scissor shears.
Yeah, and it was like a certain type of scissors that like you could only find in the game or something like that, right? Isn't that what it was?
Well, it was her scissors that she used to kill people.
Yeah. Okay, so my point being that we've said before in other movies that like there's not a lot of creative kills. I thought this movie actually had a few creative type kills. Now they didn't show them great, but I mean, I thought like especially the cop with the opening of the mouth, they had some creative kills. But I wanted to know, like, did you find that the kill scenes were okay, or do you think they were unimaginative? Or
I mean, they were better. Getting run over by a carriage is more creative than half the things we see these days, which is just, oh wait.
And it was time period specific. You
fell into a wood chipper feet first, or this guy killed you with a chainsaw. Mm-hmm. So it does have that, but they were not well done death scenes.
Yeah, and as we said, a lot of it has to do with Disney not providing the budget for graphics, right. But I thought at least they were imaginative, so I was giving them points for that.
It was more creative than what we've seen. The actual face exploding thing is based off historical torture, just FYI.
Of, like, this myth, or?
No, just in, a torture implement that was used in the Spanish Inquisition called the Pear of Anguish.
Oh.
Where they insert something in your mouth and they crank it open.
This isn't part of your history minute? This is just a
No, I was going to cover
bonus?
exclusively Elizabeth Bathory in the history minute, but this is just a little tidbit. So yeah, they used to put something in your mouth and make it expand until your head blew up.
Oh, that's something I really needed to know before bed.
They have some really horrible things in history, like terrible things.
Why don't we use that in horror movies?
Because they would all be rated R or NC-17. They're horrible.
So basically whatever's in the Serbian film is probably that.
Oh God, no, we're not ever watching that movie. No.
Anyway, okay, so the other thing that we talk about a lot in our podcast is unnecessary love stories. Now, generally we only speak of this when it is a true story. However, this is so egregious that I have to bring it up.
He dated 2 women at the same time in this movie, basically, just to have extra women in the movie.
Yeah, so, I mean, first of all, to start with, does it pass the Bechdel test? I mean, I don't think so. I don't think that there's a point in time where either one of the girls speak to each other about anything other than the boys, if they ever even speak to each other at all. I don't even remember if they really do alone. Anyway, so 1, it doesn't pass. Now, does it need to pass? Not necessarily. However, the main villain is a woman, so you could have, like, done something with her alone, or with her talking to one of the other female characters alone.
Or she doesn't talk, but Sofia Bush tells her to go
F herself. I mean, if we want to call that passing the Bechdel test, I mean, fine.
Technically, they're having a conversation without talking about a male character. Technically, under the definition, it passes.
Technically, it does. But I just feel that there were some strong female characters they could have done better. That said, I mean, it's not super necessary, but then we have the situation where the main character is dating 2 women? I don't know what's going on. So
Sofia Bush is very jealous if they're not dating.
Well, but he also, so when you first see Sofia Bush's character, he goes into, I want to say it's like a video game store or something. that her brother is working at, and she's kind of like chilling. I don't know if she's working there or if she's just visiting her brother. And I don't know. Okay, but he seems like he's got a thing with her. So my first thought when I saw them together was, oh, that's his girlfriend, and then that's his girlfriend's brother. Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
But then when he meets, intrusive photograph lady, he brings her into the friend group without informing anybody else. Sofia Bush's character acts jealous, and then he's kind of just like, yeah, meet each other. Let's all hang out. And nobody gets any explanations. And then he does kiss the blonde girl at the end. But, like, would he have kissed Sofia Bush if she's the one who made it? I don't know, but I'm not comfortable.
Probably.
Well, right. That's my point.
I mean...
So then, does that negate the "go F yourself" line? And then we've now taken away the Bechdel test? Like, what are we doing here?
Their characters didn't need to be in this movie at all. And having two of them for what reason?
I'm sorry. Did you just say that none of the female characters needed to be in this movie at all? And now having two of them, as in you mean female characters? Is that what we're doing?
No, the two women non-villains were not necessary to the plot.
I liked Sofia Bush's character, and she was necessary to the plot because she's the only one that knew anything about Elizabeth Bathory.
Fine.
Back up.
But...
Back up.
It doesn't... It just... That whole
Her stuff does further the plot. She's the one who explains how you kill her.
Her stuff, fine. But the other intrusive photograph girl...
Oh, no, she can go. Bye. Bye, Felicia.
What? It seems...
But Sofia Bush's character, in fact, furthers the plot.
I think it would have been a better movie if they were dating. Like, that at least would make a little bit more contextual sense in...
It would also make a little bit more
depth of character.
Drive as to, like, why they continued to play. Like, I know that they were saying they were playing because the game ended up playing itself and you had to do it to save yourself, but it felt like none of them had anything to live for. Like... at all.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so like, okay, you're gonna die anyway. You've seen how this plays out, so like, it would be different if you felt like he was trying to save his girlfriend or something, or she was trying to save her boyfriend, whichever way you want to go with it.
Something more than just all our lives suck. We don't really have anything worth living for, but we're gonna live because we want to. Yeah,
it was weird. It was just weird. Yeah. Weird. Okay, so there are a few things that I felt were a little bit of plot holes, I guess.
Okay.
So the first of which being Frankie Muniz. Yeah. Okay. Now these aren't in order of the movie because this is just in order of what I wrote down was confusing to me. So deal with it. Okay. So Frankie Muniz's character is the only character that dies in the game that doesn't die in real life.
Yes.
Now there are theories as to why that is the case. They still don't make sense to me. So I want to know from you, why do you believe he was able to live? And why do you think how did he die in the game? Even though there's an image there, it doesn't make sense if you think about it. So go for it.
So he was stabbed in the stomach in the game with probably scissors or shears. He was in a rose bush.
Right.
Which is supposed to protect you.
Right.
Which is what protected him in the game, in real life.
Right.
Which is why he didn't die.
But how did they kill him in the game?
So they probably killed him and he fell into the rose bush after the fact.
So in real life, the rose bush popped up before?
No, he just fell into the bush before she could kill him in real life.
So he knew it happened in the game and then he decided to play it out in real life. I'm confused. Can you explain?
He probably saw how he died in the game and was like, oh god, there's a rose bush here. How do I jump into it?
How? It happens in real time.
It didn't happen in real time. There's a delay.
No, that's not because remember he's doing the stuff with the guy and he's like, oh, you need a crowbar, I think it was. Here, do you see one on the stair now?
Yeah, but all of the people before that died and then after that died in real life. So there's
then which one's what?
There's not a real time. There's lag. Darling,
but there wasn't lag when he was giving the guy the crowbar. It happened in real life.
Darling, I don't have an answer other than it's to expedite the plot.
Well, that's a crappy answer. I don't like that.
Okay. But that's the answer.
Well, okay, so the other one that I had is more of just like did Disney try to depress us because they like to kill like family members in like all their movies, so they decided to like bring it over to a horror movie thing? Like that's what I want to know. So I don't think we brought this up yet in the podcast, but the main character, one of his like things is that he's afraid of fire, and you find out that it's because his family died in a fire.
Yeah. Which I called at the beginning of that when I said, oh, that letter's going to come back. Even before he reacted badly to it, I was like, that letter's been in like 7 scenes.
And you were right, it does. But can you tell me why?
Because Disney kills parents more
because
than
Bambi. Because Bambi is what
because
we're doing.
more than any other film production company ever, they kill parents because they love orphans. I don't know. Disney loves orphans.
Yeah, so I mean, basically they establish that this guy has no family. His pseudo family, after being abused in foster care or child services or whatever, and seriously, they literally tell you this.
Yeah.
The pseudo family that he has and goes to for comfort dies at the beginning of the movie, so literally he has no family now.
Yeah.
And then you learn he's afraid of fire, and then he has to use fire to end it all. Like, kill the ultimate way to kill her is like put nails in her head and then burn her body.
Yeah.
But like,
burn her blood, which blood doesn't burn because it's mostly water.
But I guess my question though is like, did that need to be a thing? Did he have to lose his whole family?
No, it's completely unnecessary because you can still be not a fan of burning alive as a crazy demon spirit is burning there with you.
Well, I mean, I would be.
No, that would suck. I really don't want to burn to death. Like, that's
No.
not on my list of things that I want in my life.
No, and if I saw walls engulfed in fire around me, I would be scared without being afraid of fire.
Right.
It's funny how that works. It's just amazing, right?
Yeah.
But also, though, I just... not to sound insensitive, but like, I also didn't care that he lost his family, and I don't mean it in like they didn't give me any reason to.
They didn't build up any of the characters or give you anything other than they play video games and now they're dying.
Yeah, and the whole family dying thing, you just see little snippets of like the past.
Yeah.
But he doesn't talk about it. There's no like connection. You don't see like him talking to his family, and like you realize how close they were and how devastating it was. Like, you just see flashbacks of.
4 seconds of
fire.
Yeah, it's
like, okay, thanks.
Unnecessary screen time. You could have used that to further the plot or include some of the other scenes that didn't make the cut.
That actually furthered the plot,
right?
Yeah,
that would have made way more sense.
Yeah, great. I just was curious if like you understood.
No,
I just chalked it up to Disney being Disney.
Yeah, Disney kills parents.
Yeah, and I to this day will never understand that.
Disney loves orphans. That's the only explanation I have.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, we need to get into the History Minute.
Tyler's History Minute.
We have not really said what the myth is that it's based on, so why don't you kind of give us all of it?
Okay, so the main villain is Elizabeth Bathory, who is actually a real person from history. Mm-hmm. So in the movie, they got everything basically wrong. That she was a Louisiana, New Orleans plantation woman. In
fairness, they did that on purpose to further the plot so that they would be able to actually go to the tower. But yes, go ahead.
And she did all of these horrible things in like the 1700s or the 1800s or whenever, which was not accurate at all. So the real person, Elizabeth Bathory, is a Hungarian woman, so her name is Erzsébet Bathory, mm-hmm. which is in English Elizabeth Bathory. She's a Hungarian noblewoman, and she holds the Guinness Book of World Records for most victims by a female serial killer.
I find that hard to believe because of the woman who killed or helped women kill their husbands. So it was a Giulia Tofana from Rome. She was an Italian professional poisoner, and she sold poison to women who wanted to murder their abusive husbands. And it said at her death, she confessed to killing 600 men between 1633 and 1651.
650 is still...
Well, this one, they can't confirm how many. This is what she confessed to. So...
Well, she could also be confessing for things that other people did because she's already going to die.
I suppose, but she didn't invent the poison, so...
back to Elizabeth Bathory. Number of victims was 650. A lot of horrible things. The movie got some of it right. So there were rumors that she did like to bathe in the blood of virgins to preserve her youth. There are stories about her biting people's parts of their face off, cannibalism, biting pieces out of people, cooking it even, starvation for the murder. freezing people to death,
Oh, jeez. Okay.
hot tongs, needles.
Lovely. She sounds like she liked it all.
She was metropolitan woman in that respect, so it was just jack of all trades.
Gotcha.
Live ants on a person covered in honey.
Lovely.
That sounds one of the... That
awesome.
might be worse than dying by fire, honestly. That might be worse.
Yeah, it might be.
So she was a true monster.
Now, I don't think you mentioned, but is there a reason she did all of this?
So there are several theories. So the first being that she is just a sociopath and she wanted to preserve her youth and she believed that blood made her youthful.
So she bathed in the blood of the people she killed, yeah?
That is one of the stories.
Okay.
There's no confirmation of that in any of the official documents, but that is one of the most well-known stories. The other thought is that she had epilepsy.
Oh.
And one of the treatments at the time for epilepsy was to rub blood from someone that doesn't have seizures on your lips and eat parts of their brain. Darling,
That's a treatment?
That was a treatment at the time.
So how did they obtain the brains? Did they usually... Like, did normal people use, like, dead people's brains?
Probably.
Like, what's going on? Ew, oh my god. Okay.
Yeah. Darling, those are the stories.
I didn't want to know, okay? You could have said there was no theories.
Like, just lots of horrible things from this woman in general.
Yeah, so they could make a horrifying horror movie out of her if they wanted to.
Yeah, realistically, this could be worse than basically any other horror movie ever.
Yeah.
I mean, this is up there with Vlad the Impaler. Also same part of the world, coincidentally. So they're both from Eastern Europe.
So are we going to ostracize another part of the world that listens to our podcast, or are we just going to...
Well, it's Hungary and Romania. I'm sure there are wonderful, lovely people from there, but those two people give everyone a bad rap.
So basically, they overshadow all the good.
Darling, they killed so many people.
They should have dated. They feel like it sounds like they were perfect for each other.
I don't think that they were alive at the same time.
Oh. You said this around the same time, so...
Well, it's back before modern times.
Yeah, well, I would think.
And there's also a rumor that she was partly inspiration for Dracula, just like Vlad the Impaler was. For Bram Stoker.
They should make a female Dracula.
Or just do a real life reenactment story about this woman and scare everyone forever. Last thing I want to mention, that so she was caught and she was punished with house arrest. So she just had to stay in her house, which she lived in a castle. So way to be strict there, guys. Way to punish her for killing 600 people.
Yeah, that's... I mean, okay, I guess giving the ladies a break.
So, yeah, she's ahead of basically all modern-day serial killers, in fact. So they used to do serial killers better back then.
Better? Is that the word we want to go with?
More efficient at killing people, because she killed 650 people. The highest these days is a few hundred.
Amateurs.
Yeah. America doesn't make the top 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Because we make the top 10 of awful people in the world.
How do you figure it? Genghis Khan, Attila the Hun, Adolf Hitler, Vlad Dracula.
The fact that you know them off the top of your head makes me question the things that you feel comfortable learning.
Stalin. Like, there are some... Pol Pot. There are some seriously bad people.
We got it.
Yeah.
We got it. Good for you. I'm glad that you've memorized all the bad people in the world.
Just seriously, you didn't even punish her. Come on. I would love to live in a castle.
Same.
Can I live in a castle?
Probably not. You can live in a cage in the bottom of a castle.
Whoa, that got dark.
Well, I mean, it literally would, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That's all I got for the History Minute.
Okay, so we do need to move into Audience Asks.
Audience asks.
Now, I don't think a lot of people saw this movie, so...
I didn't until now.
Yeah, it seems like it wasn't that popular, but... David Mansfield asked, which video game would have had the best, worst, real-world consequences?
Best, worst.
So, Video game that would have had the best real world consequences and video game that would have had the worst.
Well, there are video games that you can't possibly die in.
Well, like Animal Crossing, that would be like the best real world consequence.
You get to hang out with animals all day? How bad is that?
And go diving and...
Pokemon? You can't die in Pokemon.
Gotta catch 'em all. Pokemon. Okay.
There are so many great video game universes where there's wonderful things that happen.
Okay, so we got the good. What's the bad?
I mean, there are a lot of bad realities.
Okay.
I mean, Fallout, nuclear apocalypse, living in a wasteland, Resident Evil, Silent Hill.
I mean, they already have movies, but okay,
Well,
fair.
A video game that I play, Crusader Kings.
I mean, the incest alone would be horrible real world.
I don't get that. The Reddit community around that computer game is just, y'all need to figure your shit out. Yeah. But there's just untold amounts of child murder and horrible things that you can do in that game.
Yeah. I mean, fair. Yeah, awful. Okay. We're not going to talk about your game because we could be doing this all night. I did want to call out Ryan Terry for not seeing a Disney film. I'm sorry, you said you were a Disney fanatic and you didn't see this film. So, I mean, can you call yourself a Disney fanatic?
It's also a horror movie and he likes horror movies. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry.
Shame on you.
What happened here?
Double shame.
Yeah, so just want to make sure we did that. And then we have our lovely friends who never see the movie, but they always give us questions because they're lovely people. So Stork said, best Bee Gees song, and then he did a Nick Miller gif, I got nothing. So I think he's talking about the Bee Gees because Staying Alive, because people seem to have confused this movie with Staying Alive just to annoy us.
I mean, I don't know another Bee Gees song.
I don't either. I'm not that old.
Neither of us are that old, Stork. You're on that one alone.
Yeah.
PSA, Staying Alive is the tempo for CPR.
He has been waiting to say that since he realized you guys were confusing this movie with Staying Alive, so I just wanted to let you know.
So if you need to perform CPR for someone, it's the Bee Gees Staying Alive.
I think everybody knows that, but thank you so much. We really appreciate it. It was a good service. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, so nobody else has seen it. So, I mean, we had a few other questions that were literally all about Staying Alive, so we're not going to go down that path. So, anyway, ratings?
Ratings. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a 10.
Out of 10?
Yeah. 10%.
Oh, I was like, a 10 out of 10?
No.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
The film critic score is 10 out of 100.
Yee.
The audience score is 55.
I should know, just so you guys know, that the unrated cut, when it was like an ABCD, blah, 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 rating, got a D, the theatrical cut, and then the one that was director's cut got a C+. So
it went from a D- to a C+.
Yeah, so that's quite a jump.
It is a jump, but still it's a C+. Like, you can't shoot for a B, like A.
I mean, but they were still kind of hammed down. You know, they still had to create the movie.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Damn you, Disney, for destroying an original concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would go with something close to the audience score. 5 out of 10. 6 out of 10. Like, it's not all that good of a movie. I mean, where are you going to go with it? The acting, blah, story, interesting.
It wasn't an enjoyable night with your wife?
All my nights are enjoyable nights with my wife.
What a political answer.
That's a trap.
But you didn't enjoy it.
It was fine, but I wish they had done a better job of executing the film. Is where it breaks down, because it is an interesting idea, but it just kind of left me wanting them to do a better job.
I mean, that's fair. I was going to give it a 7.5. So, I mean, obviously it was nothing spectacular. There was a lot of plot holes, and there was just a lot to want for. But, I mean, it has nostalgia for me. It has characters in there that I just, from life enjoy. So, that does kind of bring stuff to the table for me. And I love that it's an original concept. I feel like so many movies base their themes and stories and whatever off of something else, another movie, where this one is completely original, and that's going to get points for me. So anyway, I would like to see if there were any other movies that incorporated her story other than, Vlad the Impaler, because I want to see more women people, just not just villains, but just women badasses, really.
I mean, I think that's fair. I mean, there are a lot of interesting stories from history that are overlooked.
Yeah, I mean, or they could do the Aqua Tofana one that I talked about. I want to see a woman providing poison to women who want to kill their abusive husbands.
Yeah, or this woman torturing untold numbers of people in her dungeons.
Yeah, so all you big women in Hollywood that are getting into writing films, I know there's a lot of them out there, use some of these source material that hasn't really been used. Let's get into it. You know what I'm saying?
Just something more than just the typical slasher movie, or haunted movie. Just give me something that has some substance there,
I agree.
some depth.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I got. So
Next week's movie is my choice, current movie, Love Guaranteed, because I love my wife and that's the movie that she wanted.
it looks adorable. It does not look adorable to you?
It does. It's got the girl from She's All That.
I think so, yeah.
So, another rom-com with her. It'll be snarky and sarcastic, so I'm fine.
It really looks adorable. I mean, it might end up being horrible because rom-coms, could go either way, really, but I don't think it'll be any worse than The Other Missy.
Oh, God, please never again. Just so bad.
Yeah, so that'll be that. And then I think we're into October, aren't we?
We're in October for the horror movies, and we're going to have to come up with some classics that we haven't done.
Not just classics.
We'll mix in
We'll mix it up.
an assortment, but I think we have to cover at least one classic apiece.
Yeah.
To be fair. We've done a few classics. We've done Chucky, we've done Halloween.
Yeah, so, you can always send them to us throughout the next few weeks, and if we can add it in, we'll add it in. If not, we'll always keep it on the list in case we have other Halloween months. I don't know how long we're going to be doing this for, but, you never know. Wow,
that's awfully looming and foreshadowing our doom as a podcast. All right, so thank you to Jake at Athos Music.
Wow, he's really just cutting to the chase.
Yeah,
I was going to say, if you guys want to talk to us outside the podcast, I have Twitter at CinematicallyC, and Tyler has Twitter, blame Tyler CC, but always tag me if you're going to reach out to him. You can reach out to us on email at cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com. You can find us on basically any platform under the CinematicallyC tag. But yeah, beyond that, let us know if you have questions for the next movie, Love Guaranteed. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen the movie, anything like that, you have things you want us to talk about, please let us know, and watch for the Audience Asks segment. If you have to reach out to us prior to that coming out, because I am kind of late sometimes putting it up, feel free to email me or tweet me, and I will keep it and, make sure I use it. But that's that. So thank you to Jake at Athos Music for our intro and outro music. You get 2 thank yous because Tyler jumped the gun. And we will be back next week with Love Guaranteed.
Thank you all for listening.